How much do we pay for every unit of Vega? An interesting discussion here. Do you
I
look at
mean,
your
to get back to Hut for just a minute. I mean,
yeah,
you're up like 2.5 points on the
yeah,
trade.
yeah.
I mean,
I
it's
mean
not
that's
a
all on the stock. The stock's gone up $10.
right, right. The options that I mean, you're down small, probably 40, 50 cents today, and you're up, $250 or so on every one by
Two.
two that you have. So it's a good position.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you wanted to, you could probably sell a call out or a put out against it. But there's just no the call skew is where you want to be.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why I'm leaning towards just holding it because you have the static delta. It's different than like being short the puts and being tested to the upside because those puts lose value and that hedge comes off the table. I've got 100 shares, static delta. My options, my two options with about $4 of extrinsic value in each of them, it basically means that if you're below 55 in the next 24 days, you're really no worse off than you are right now. Like the position won't really change because you're statically long those shares with $8 of extrinsic value on the table. So your break even is basically at like 55 on this, based on the value of the options right now.
Yeah, right. But the stock's 53, almost 53, and you got a $10 expected move. So you're definitely at
Sure.
risk.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
All right, ready to go. Let's
Cool.
do it.
How much do we pay for every unit of Vega? We're going to be talking Vega today.
Yeah, I got a lot of Vega discussions. Matter of fact, people talking about, buying year out options to the downside to protect
Mhm.
their downside. And it does sound like, a sound mark, volatility is low relative
Yeah.
across the board. But when you look at volatility, you're not alone in this. When you look at, December volatility or January volatility of 2027, you're up in the 22 handle, and front month vol is like 16. So, there is a big vol skew, 6 points. Remember, I like, if I'm doing it like this, I don't want it to be more than 2 points. I usually do it, intra month, meaning like if you wanted to buy, you know, May or I'll go May, 87 days out. You're paying 17 and a half versus February, which is 16. I don't mind that. When you go further out than that and you've got 5 or 6 vol points, it's huge amount of Vega you're paying for.
Yeah. Yeah. And you really need that realized move because they don't move one to one.
That is right. That is right. Anyway, I'm sorry. You were talking about Vega and it just reminded me about the emails I got.
That's okay. That's okay. Don't be sorry.
Okay, thank you.
You don't have to say you're sorry. We love each other.
Love is never having to say you're sorry.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
right.
it's okay.
That's right.
All right, let's do it. Vega, we're talking Vega today. Next slide, please.
My
So
least favorite subject.
Vega measures the change of the options value when implied volatility moves up or down by 1%. This is looking at the actual implied volatility of that expiration. It's not the IV rank number. It's the actual implied volatility that you are trading in those options and that expiration. And it's just based on 1% move. Obviously, different strategies we employ have different Vega values, but most of them are short volatility trades. And so you are short Vega. When you sell a strangle, you are short volatility. You are essentially selling the market's expectation for price movement in that stock or ETF, whatever it is that you're trading. That is really the basics of what you're doing. You're saying, the market expects it to be this much move. I don't think it's going to be that much, and I'm selling that value. So you are playing for realized volatility to be less than implied.
And this is exactly why we look to sell premium when it's high, for all of those factors right there. Because we want it to contract. Obviously, we want to sell it when it's high and not when it's low.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Next slide here. So we're going to review some basic delta neutral short vol trades that we do constantly. Straddles, we're going to look at 30 delta strangles. We're going to look at 16 delta strangles. And we're going to kind of see if there's an optimal. Again, this is kind of going to the discussion that we had for the option jive this morning. Like, is there an optimal spot, where you get the most short volatility and the least amount of risk? I think you know where this is going to go, that it's all going to be proportional. The most risk will have, the most volatility exposure, the most potential reward. That's all going to be kind of the story here, as we've always talked about.
Yes, very good.
So the study, we're looking at 2020 to present, so the last 5 years of trading action here. We're doing 45-day positions. So we look at the positions that we looked at on the last slide, the 16 and 30 delta strangles and the straddle. And we're going to manage them at 21 days. We're going to look at the volatility of the P&L and then just the Vega exposure of those positions.
Classic kind of tasty mechanics here that we're going over. We're not doing anything different that we wouldn't do in real life, right? So we're trying to look at real life examples here over a relatively good amount of time, 5 years.
Yep. And so with higher delta strangles, we get higher opportunity from Vega, but also higher risk. Goes to exactly what we said. You're gonna have your most vol exposure with more risky positions. And so, what strategy provides us the most amount of Vega per unit of risk is what we're kind of going to look at here. And so you can see on the charts here, as you have more risk, you're going to have more vol exposure, and so on. Less risk, less vol exposure on those positions. So it goes hand in hand, but we're going to try and quantify this and say, is there a perfect best spot? Do you think there is?
Yeah, I don't know what it's going to come out to be. I guess there's going to be a perfect best spot. You mean between the amount of volatility and how much Vega you're exposed to?
Yeah, risk and volatility. You think there's going to be a perfect spot, or it's all going to be kind of the same? Because options are priced for that risk. So it goes to the email that we get all the time of like, what's the perfect spot? If there was a perfect spot, it would be priced differently. Like if there was a spot
that would be the cheapest or most expensive, depending on what you were trying to do. Sure.
Exactly. Like if there was a spot that was optimal, that was priced cheaper than everything else, that would be
what you would want to buy, right?
Everybody would trade that. It has to, all prices and all options are going to reflect this idea. Like there's going to be no, you're not going to find a holy grail in markets. It's all priced in. There's no like special spot.
Good point. It's basically saying what I was reiterating a moment ago when I was looking at SPY, saying, yes, it makes perfectly good sense with volatility being so low that you would think about going further out of the money to do something with your further out in time to do something with your positions, kind of protect your Vega risk. But it's already elevated relative to everything else. So it's all priced in. Everybody's seeing the same picture. So
exactly. You see it, I see it, they see it, everybody sees it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a very good point.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing when you think about it.
Yeah. So getting on to the next slide here, it seems that no matter how wide our strikes are, the amount of Vega exposure we have that we're short per unit of risk we take is the exact same. So this suggests that the opportunity and risk are priced efficiently. Essentially what we're saying here is that, and this goes to harp on the option jive from this morning, less risk is going to be a higher pop, but going to have a lower return on capital, right? So you sell a 5 delta option, you get paid a lot less to take that risk, and it's going to be a higher probability. It's the same sort of idea here. Like, just because you're further out of the money doesn't mean that you have less vol exposure. You have all the same vol exposure. It's just a difference of where your risk is. Vol across the curve is going to act differently, which is a hindsight look back. The options that are closer at the money are going to hold value a lot longer than the further out options. But right now, when we're looking at it, the Vega is reflected in all of those positions. It's all the same. And
Sure.
so, the moral of the story is that there ultimately isn't a perfect spot. There's like the spots that we like to trade in where, you have a good balance of risk reward, you have a good balance of probability, you have the right exposure to volatility and data that we're all comfortable with. That's where we live in, but there isn't a perfect spot. There isn't like this is the best spot. They're all going to be a little bit different, and they it comes down to your risk tolerance, your capital, directional assumptions. All that is where you get the variable of why you use one or the other.
Very good. Good job out of you. Good job out of the team for sure.
A couple takeaways. More Vega in hopes of volatility contraction is met with more risk. When you are short more volatility, you'll have more risk. That comes hand in hand. No matter how wide your strikes are on the strangle, the amount of Vega opportunity you have relative to the risk you take is constant. So, it just further reiterates the point of more risk, more reward. Higher pop is going to be less reward. Lower pop is going to be more potential reward. Those are just kind of the constants across trading.
So what is your takeaway from this whole Vega discussion that you have here? Like, what is your takeaway about Vega and its risk?
I think yeah.
Go ahead. Well, what I was trying to go with here is it all comes down. They mentioned with the strikes and everything else, it all comes down to size, right? I mean, your Vega risk obviously comes down to size first, and then strategy that you pick after that. Because the strategy you pick either accentuates the Vega risk or mitigates some of that Vega risk. So it really comes down to just size and then strategy. What everything comes down to in the whole totality of trading, it's really just about size and strategy.
Totally. And I think it just, I think people get fixated on like, should I sell this strike or this strike or this strike? And it basically tells you that whatever you're seeing right now is priced in. Right. So
Sure.
You move your strike up and you will have $1 extra of potential reward, but you're going to have more risk on it. Like there's always going to be a trade-off. Like there's not going to be the perfect spot. And I think that is the hardest thing for people to come to grips with, that there is a variable that you simply cannot measure. Which is, what happens in the future. And so I think this discussion was like, we want to be short volatility in stuff that is high volatility. And whether you do the 16 delta or the 18 delta or the 20 delta, it doesn't really matter. It's kind of all the same. It's just a measure of what your risk tolerance is, how your confidence level, do you really think it's going to be well inside that? Then you go to a tighter strangle. Like that's the variable. It's not, the variable isn't which strike is better. It's your own assumption. I think that's what this is really about.
Good job out of you. Let's take a quick 90-second break and come back. We got more Tasty Live after this with Q coming in the house. We'll be back in 90 seconds. Tasty Trade World Headquarters next.